Good morning. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. I hope you're having a beautiful morning so far. And I've been reading The Hidden Power by Thomas Troward. And today I want to read a couple of chapters if we have time. I want to start with the I am. Think about the flow of energy, whether you say it's energy or divine love, God, source energy, presence, the divine, infinite intelligence, God, Jesus, Holy Spirit. When you say I am, I want to read this chapter called The I Am. We often do not sufficiently recognize the truth of Walt Whitman's pithy saying, I am not all contained between my hat and my boots, and forget that the twofold nature of the I am, that it is at once both the manifested and the unmanifested, the universal and the individual. By losing sight of this truth, we surround ourselves with limitations. We see only part of the self, and then we're surprised that the part fails to do the work of the whole. Factors crop up on which we had not reckoned, and we wonder where they came from, and do not understand that they necessarily arise from that great unity in which we are all included. We are all part of one. We are all part of the divine. We are all part of the I am. It is the grand intelligence and livingness of universal spirit continually pressing forward to manifestation of itself in a glorious humanity. This must be effected by each individual's recognition of his power to cooperate with the supreme principle through an intelligent conception of its purpose and of the natural laws by which that purpose is accomplished, a recognition which can proceed only from the realization that he himself is none other than the same universal principle in particular manifestation. Particular manifestation, individual uniqueness, you. Troward says, when he sees this, he sees that Walt Whitman's saying is true. I am not all contained between my hat and my boots. His source of intelligence, power, and purpose is in that universal self, which is his as well as another's, just because it is universal, and which is therefore as completely and entirely identified with himself as though there were no other expression of it in the world. The understanding which alone gives value to knowledge is the understanding that when we employ the formula I am, therefore I can, therefore I will, the I am with which the series starts is a being who, so to speak, has his head in heaven and his feet upon the earth, a perfect unity, and with a range of ideas far transcending the little ideas which are limited by the requirements of a day or an hour. Think of this formula which I just read. You might want to write this down. I am, therefore I can, therefore I will. When you say I am, your words are powerful. You're speaking things into existence. If you really want something, you desire something, you want to speak it into existence. I am becoming the best version of myself. I am happy. I am healthy. I am divinely blessed. I am abundance. I am prosperity. I am perfect health. I am that I am. I am whatever you say you are. You continue to speak that into existence. Be careful what you say following I am, because your words are like magic. So Troward says, on the other hand, the requirements of the day and the hour are real while they last. Yes, we're not talking about ignoring reality. And since the manifested life can be lived only in the moment that is now, whether it be today or 10,000 years hence, our need is to harmonize the life of expression with the life of purpose. And by realizing in ourselves the source of the highest purpose is to realize also the life of the fullest purpose. To realize in ourselves the source of the highest purpose, to realize also the life of the fullest purpose. Don't you want to live a full life, a life of purpose? And don't you find yourself feeling miserable, drifting, getting bored, worrying about what's going on when you don't have a purpose? When you have a single-minded purpose, this is what I want, this is where I'm going, you give it your all, and it doesn't matter what's going on. You focus your attention in the direction of what you want, where you want to go, and everything else just drifts away. It doesn't matter. When you focus your attention on what's bothering you, you let go of your purpose. Troward says, this is the meaning of prayer. Prayer is not a foolish seeking to change the mind of supreme wisdom, but it is an intelligent seeking to embody that wisdom in our thoughts so as more and more perfectly to express it in expressing ourselves. Thus, as we gradually grow into the habit of finding this inspiring presence within ourselves and of realizing its forward movement as the ultimate determining factor in all true healthful mental action, it will become second nature to us to have all our plans, down to the apparently most trivial, so floating upon the undercurrent of this universal intelligence that a great harmony will come into our lives. Every discordant manifestation will disappear, and we shall find ourselves more and more controlling all things into the forms that we desire. Why? Because we have attained to commanding the Spirit and making it obey us? Certainly not. For if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall in the ditch. But because we are companions of the Spirit, and by a continuous and growing intimacy have changed not the mind of the Spirit, but our own. And we have learned to think from a higher standpoint where we see that the old world saying, know thyself, includes the knowledge of all that we mean when we speak of God. I am is one. This may seem a very elementary proposition, but it is one of which we are too apt to lose sight. What does this mean? It means everything, but we are most concerned with what it means in regard to ourselves and to each one of us personally. It means this. It means that there are not two spirits, one which is myself and one which is another. It means that there is not some great unknown power external to myself, which may be actuated by perfectly different motives to my own, and which will therefore oppose me with its irresistible force and pass over me. It means that there is only one mind, one motive, one power. You might say one God, not two opposing each other. And my conscious mind in all its movements is only the one mind expressing itself, not merely through my own particular individuality. You are here for a purpose. You are a unique individual expression of one universal energy. There are not two I ams, but one I am. Whatever therefore I can conceive the great universe life principle to be, that I am. Let us try fully to realize what this means. Can you conceive the great originating and sustaining life principle of the whole universe as poor, weak, sordid, miserable, jealous, angry, anxious, uncertain, or in any other way limited? We know that this is impossible. Then because the I am is one, it is equally untrue of ourselves. Learn first to distinguish the true self that you are from the mental and physical processes which it throws forth as the instruments of its expression, and then learn that this self controls these instruments and not vice versa. Don't allow the outside world to control you. You control you, and then you walk calmly through whatever stresses and problems show up during the day. You can't control anyone else. You can't control the outside influences. But when you control you, everything falls into place for you. As we advance in this knowledge, we know ourselves to be unlimited, and that in this miniature world whose center we ourselves are the very same overflowing of joyous livingness that the Great Spirit, the great life spirit is in the great all. The I am is one. And then Troward goes on to talk about in the next chapter, affirmative power. Thoroughly to realize the true nature of affirmative power is to possess the key to the great secret. We feel its presence in all the innumerable forms of life by which we are surrounded, and we feel it as the life in ourselves. We feel its presence in all the innumerable forms of life by which we are surrounded, and we feel it as the life in ourselves. And at last, someday the truth bursts upon us like a revelation that we can wield this power, this life, by the process of thought. And as soon as we see this, the importance of regulating our thinking begins to dawn upon us. We ask ourselves what this thought process is, and we then find it is thinking affirmative force into forms which are the product of our own thought. We mentally conceive the form and then think life into it. Think about that. Whatever you're thinking predominantly becomes your experience. We mentally conceive the thought, and then we think life into it. We form a thought, and then the more we think about it, we start to act as if, and then that becomes our life. We become what we think about. Troward suggests this must always be the nature of the creative process on whatever scale, whether the grand scale of the universal cosmic mind or on the miniature scale of the individual mind. The difference is only in degree and not in kind. We may picture the mental machinery by which this is done in the way that best satisfies our intellect, and the satisfying of the intellect on this point is a potent factor in giving us that confidence in our mental action, without which we can effect nothing. But the actual externalization is the result of something more powerful than a merely intellectual apprehension. It is the result of that inner mental state, which, for want of a better word, we may call our emotional conception of ourselves. It is the self which we feel ourselves to be, which takes form of our own thinking. What you think you are, you become, you create, you manifest. Who do you think you are? What do you think you're capable of doing? What you believe about yourself is what manifests in your reality. Troward says, for this reason, our thought must be so grounded upon knowledge that we shall feel the truth of it, and thus be able to produce in ourselves that mental attitude of feeling which corresponds to the condition which we desire to externalize. You must feel what it would be like to live the way you want before it manifests. You can't be miserable, jealous, and resentful and angry and manifest beautiful, happy, loving relationships. You must love yourself first, and then that divine light radiates out and people can feel it. You can't be anxious and stressed and have beautiful, calm, purposeful days. That calmness must come from your central being. You are the center of your own universe. You are projecting out whatever you're feeling, whatever you're thinking. Troward says we cannot think into manifestation a different sort of life to that which we realize in ourselves. We cannot give what we have not got. And on the other hand, we can never cease creating forms of some sort by our mental activity, thinking life into them. This point must be carefully noted. We cannot sit still producing nothing. The mental machinery will keep on turning out work of some sort, and it rests with us to determine of what sort it shall be. In our entire ignorance or imperfect realization of this, we can create negative forms and think life into them. We can create forms of death, sickness, sorrow, trouble, and limitation of all sorts, and then we think life into these forms, with the result that, however non-existent in themselves, to us they become realities and throw their shadow across the path which would otherwise be bright with the many-colored beauties of innumerable flowers and the glory of the sunshine. This need not be. It is giving to the negative an affirmative force which does not belong to it. Consider what is meant by the negative. It is the absence of something. It is not being, and it is the absence of all that constitutes being. It is the absence of love. It is the absence of the I am, the truth. Left to itself, it remains in its own nothingness, and it only assumes form and activity when we give these to it by our thought. Here, then, is the great reason for practicing control over our thought. It is the one and only instrument we have to work with, but it is an instrument which works with the greatest certainty. It works for limitation if we think limitation. It works for enlargement if we think enlargement. Our thought as feeling is the magnet which draws to us those conditions which accurately correspond to itself. This is the meaning of the saying that thoughts are things. But you say, how can I think differently from the circumstances? Certainly you are not required to say that the circumstances at the present moment are what they are not. To say would be untrue, but what is wanted is not to think from the standpoint of circumstances at all. Think from that interior standpoint where there are no circumstances, and from whence you can dictate what circumstances shall be. What do you want? Think from that standpoint. Do you want calm? Do you want peace? Do you want love? Do you want respect? Think from that standpoint. And then leave the circumstances to take care of themselves. Troward says, do not think of this, that, or the other particular circumstance of health, peace, etc., but of health, peace, and prosperity themselves. What is the feeling? Not the actual representation, but the feeling of, how do you feel when you're healthy? How do you feel love? What would it feel like if you recognized you were abundantly blessed? So he gives an example. Here's an advertisement from Pearson's Weekly. Think money. Big money makers think money. This is a perfectly sound statement of the power of thought, although it is only an advertisement, but we make an advance beyond thinking money. Think of what that represents. Think life in all its fullness, together with that perfect harmony of conditions, which includes all that we need of money and 1,000 other good things, for some of which money stands as a symbol of exchangeable value. Well, others cannot be estimated by so material a standard. I don't think people want to just be wealthy. I think they also want to have an enriched life, feeling harmony with family and friends, leading a purposeful life, enjoying all that life has to give. So think life, illumination, harmony, prosperity, happiness. Think the things rather than this or that condition of them. And then, by the sure operation of the universal laws, these things will form themselves into the shapes best suited to your particular case, and will enter your life as active living forces which will never depart from you, because you know them to be part and parcel of your own being. The I am is in you. The great I am is in everything, in everyone, in everything in nature, in everything in the universe. You are part of this grand universe. You are part of the great scheme of things. Watch your words. How do you talk about the I am? I am happy. I am healthy. I am divinely created. I am co-creating my life with the great I am. So focus on the feeling that you desire. Don't worry about how it's going to come. Don't worry about the outside circumstances. Don't worry about where you are now. Don't concern yourself with the future. Don't concern yourself with the past. Because when you worry, you're actually praying for what you don't want. You're in the negative. You want to be in harmony with your desire. I am happy. I am healthy. I am loved. I am respected. I am living a purposeful life. I am becoming the best version of me because I am part of the great I am. Tell yourself over and over and over and over. Let that become your inner speak, and your outer world reflects your inner speech. Create a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. Enjoy your day, and I'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7. Thank you.